It was the most insane thing ever. It was off the Richter scale. And now I find myself going toe to toe with one of the world's and one of Ireland's greatest players. You better shut your fucking mouth, otherwise I'm going to break your fucking nose. This time I'm actually going for the manager, and he pushed me again, and I've gone boom. There must be about 6 people trying to actually pull me off, and I get about that close to Kenny's neck. Me and Millwall and me and my club versus me in Ireland, I felt like 2 different people. And he had a picture of a blonde bird painted onto one of his gloves and her naked body on the other, and he wore them in the game. Yeah, I took off on a fucking Saturday after a game at the Den. Traversed the Himalayas for 3 nights, and I was back in training Thursday morning. Do you know what? I slid it back to him. I said, you can have the 2 weeks and you can have the rest of my contract. I'm going back to Ireland. And I turned around and I said, you little skinny fucking rat, I'm going to kill the pair of you.
Forde, you're a fucking lunatic, aren't you?
Pound for pound, biggest hands in football.
And a great handshake to go with it, by the way.
Did you see the size of them?
Do you reckon you would have had to get the gloves custom made? Because they were
think
shovels.
he'll have been, yeah, I do.
Destined to be a goalkeeper, mine, weren't he?
Yeah. Well, was he?
Well,
I'd say this is one of the most intriguing, exciting stories of dropping out of football and then coming back in and getting to such an high level.
Brilliant. More Roy Keane stuff. He
Again.
pops up every week.
seems to,
It's
doesn't
not
it?
planned, is it?
To say he only managed 2 teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
obviously he got his coaching with Ireland, which obviously what we'll go into, but he only managed 2 teams and he seems to be fucking managed everybody, doesn't he?
Where do you remember Forde the most?
Gotta be Millwall, isn't it?
Millwall.
Yeah.
Millwall.
But he went on a few loans,
Yeah.
Portsmouth, I remember at Portsmouth.
retired at least 5 times, but won't.
Like I said, dropping out and coming back in, it's an unbelievable story.
Say thank you, Chris.
I'll say thank you to you two for being here. Thanks
You're
for turning
welcome.
up. O'Neill Sportswear for sponsoring the series. Not just the series, this episode and the last 2 series. Links in the description if you want to get your team sorted with a kit.
Can I say thank you
Matthew,
as well?
I'll say thanks to Matthew.
Thanks
as
for wearing
well.
your fleece today.
Yes.
23 degrees outside, but much obliged to you.
Look nice for a pair of flares and toms, that.
And thank you for those who bought the live show tickets. Still available?
Still available.
Leeds 21st of June, Doncaster 27th of June, Wolverhampton 3rd of July with Sir Mick
McCarthy.
Links in the description if you want to get some tickets. And then one last final big thank you to the Patreons for obviously
Heroes.
making everything happen.
I think that's enough from us, lads. We're
we get
getting
David
in.
in?
David, big hands.
Wait for the shake. The shake's incredible.
Could be the first guest that we've had on, and I don't know what it is. Jappa?
Yes,
Is that how you pronounce it?
yes, that's how you pronounce it. Yeah.
How did you get into that, and what
What is it?
It's basically sound-based chanting, meditation. So you chant, you repeat a chant over and over, out loud. Yeah, japa silently, but to start you have to do it out loud. So it's a mantra means manas, mind, and tra means a tool to protect the mind. So when you start to focus on the sound of the chant and on the mantra, basically you're following the concentration of that so it doesn't allow anything else to come in. But then when you start to practice, it's like, we've 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day. So it's like thought, but you keep your focus on the chant and on the mantra, so it increases your focus and your concentration. So then it doesn't allow all the other rubbish, all the other garbage to come in there, so it gets your mind really one-pointed, focused, concentrated like a laser gazer, so you know what you're after. So I used to have big problems with my concentration and my focus and all that. And when I got to about 30, 31, I was having a borderline midlife crisis. And my sister said to me, she said, look, she started doing this practice. She went to see someone. Do you want to give it a go? And I was kind of like, bollocks, I'm not doing that. Like, that's a bit way out there. Then after another while, a couple of more injuries, a bit more pressure started to come on, losing me place, all that kind of thing. And I was like, right, let's give this a go. And I started doing it like 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. Next thing I found myself doing it for hours throughout the day.
Really?
Yeah. And then going to India,
Did you go to India after you retired? Or was this whilst you were
No,
still
this was
playing?
in the middle of the fucking season. Not many people know that. So I went.
Where's Forde?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this
He'll
is
be
good.
over in India.
Do you want to save it? We'll save it for the podcast. Yeah. So Yeah, I took off on a fucking Saturday after a game at the Den. Went over there, traversed the Himalayas for 3 nights, and I was back in training Thursday morning. Lads were like, what the fuck were you up to? And I was like, I was in the Himalayas for the weekend. They're like, 40-year-olds chatting shite. What are you doing? I was like, genuine lads, I was in the Himalayas. They were like, nah, bollocks. They wouldn't listen to me.
What, so did the gaffer let you have the, like, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off to go?
Well, I told no little fib, like, I said, my dad's not well, I need to go back to Ireland. The gaffer was like, yeah, off you go. And I was straight to Heathrow on a plane, 8 o'clock flight into Delhi. Got to Delhi, it was 8 hours, 9-hour flight. Arrived in Delhi, had a shower, a bit of food, 12-hour car ride up to the Himalayas, up into the mountains. Got there midnight on a Sunday night. So I had up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning on the Monday. Then I had Monday night, Tuesday, Wednesday, drive 12 hours back to Delhi onto a flight that evening, have a sleep on the plane, arriving at 6 o'clock on Thursday morning, and I'll be at the first thing for training Thursday morning, brand new, living my best life.
Are you not fucked? Like,
No, every time I did it, we won. We won on the Saturday. I used to feel electric. It was like such a burden, such a weight. I used to feel so light. I used to feel so good about myself, all those different things.
Because we were speaking just off air about when you were at West Ham and you said you weren't ready, and was it like performance anxiety that you used to suffer from, or was it just nerves? You know, when you said your knees were shaking in the warm up, and
yeah, absolutely, all that I suppose you can label it what you want, but at the end of the day, basically, it was just fear and just afraid, anxiety, stress, all those different elements. You know, homesickness. I was battling with so many different elements within inside myself. And talking about that one going out before Upton Park, and you have David James in goals. Shaka Hislop was there, Stephen Bywater, some great keepers. Even Ray van der Hoek came a little bit later. And I often remember going out onto as a third choice goalie. I was maybe 21, 22 at that age, in front of 42,000, thinking, oh, holy shit, like, what am I going to do here? Like, if I have to come on, if I have to play. And I never really felt ready. Never really felt I had the confidence or my self-belief, that self-worth that I was like good enough. Obviously, I was there for a reason. Had a lot of potential, but I was nowhere near realising that potential. So I could only imagine if I'd started doing the work I was doing personally and professionally in my 30s, what I would have went on to do in my career.
Does it not have the same effect if it's not in the Himalayas? Could you not like just gone somewhere closer?
I get that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Look, there's loads of places you can go, like, do you know what I mean? But inside myself, I was such an extremist anyhow. Emotionally, I was such extreme. I was on such highs, you know, absolute best job in the world, to actually extreme crushing lows. So the extremities of it, I felt that I actually need to do something extreme here to match that. And plus, energetically, I just, wherever I went, I always felt that I couldn't get far enough away from the problem. I would always think of the problem. I couldn't find a solution to it. So by me getting far enough away energetically from it, it allowed me to kind of give me a bird's eye view and see the crap from the trees and to have a different kind of perspective on
so
what
that
I
was
was
kind of
dealing with.
Part of the process to get as far away from it as possible physically,
Exactly.
as well as mentally.
Exactly. It's like, you know, sometimes you have a problem and, you know, you'd go for a drive, you'll go for a walk. You'll do all those different things. For me, is right, I had to go fairly far away to give me time, to give me space.
The Himalayas is kind of this safe hub to
100%.
Re-cleanse.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. And how that works physically, emotionally, mentally, energetically, intellectually, it works right across the board. It's one of the most ancient places on this planet. And even physically, you're going up so high up into the atmosphere, the ions and the atmosphere, the negative charge. You start to absorb all that because the air is purer and cleaner. So on that level, is that alone is massive. And even going to India, it's such an assault on the senses. Like, you get in there and the smells and the sights and everything else that's actually happening, and you're thinking, oh my God, the appreciation you start to have.
When you put it like that, it almost sounds like the perfect journey, that you're experiencing that when you get there. All the senses, like you said, appreciation, and then you get away from it again when you get up to the Himalayas for that self-reflection bit.
Absolutely. You get that chance to kind of contemplate, realise what you have, what you don't have, You know, I was always living in a sense of lack. I always wanted more, or I could be more. I wanted more in my next contract. I wanted a bigger house. I wanted a bigger car. And I was never, even when I got those different elements, there was still this massive void within me. And I was like, geez, I've got the house, I got the car, I got married, I played for Ireland, I've managed to achieve my goals and my dreams. All I wanted to be was, ultimately, I wanted to play for Ireland and be a professional footballer. And then when I get there and I'm in my peak and everything else, I lost the fun and the joy of what I was actually doing it for in the first place. I got too professional. Everything got very serious. And that was due to my career coming late as well. So bearing in mind, my international debut only came at 31. I was the oldest player since World War II to make his 33 when I made my World Cup competitive debut against Sweden. So I felt I was always kind of chasing. So then my mind went into just absolute ultimate professional mode. Because when I was younger, when I was at West Ham, drinking, nights out, I was still in an amateur type of mindset because year and a half before I signed at West Ham, I was at Barrytown in the League of Wales. Then I was playing in the League of Ireland before that. That was all amateur football back in the end of the 90s. Then I find myself in the middle of the Premier League earning 1,500, 1,600 quid a week.
How did that move come? How did you get to West Ham?
Yeah, that was actually well, it's funny now looking back at it. Back then it wasn't. It was coming up to Christmas. We were first or second. It was first v second live on BBC Wales, and games going on, and we're about maybe 30 minutes into the game, and Lee Jarman, did you ever play against Lee Jarman? Centre half at Cardiff years ago.
Not sure.
Yeah, but Jarmers was with us, and he's turned around to give me an absolute hospital back pass. I've come out, it was basically 70-30. I was on the 30 side, managed to clear it, 360, rolled the tackle, and I jump on and say, what are you doing? You got me fucking leg broken. And he pushes me, and I go, don't push me. And he pushed me again, and I've gone, boom, right in the middle of the game. He goes back, referee comes running over, red card. And next thing, I get my marching orders. And I felt like, geez, that's the worst thing I could have ever done. Absolute self-sabotage. That's my career over before it even began.
You warned him though, didn't you?
Yeah, he did get he got the push first,
He got the push. And
It's his own fault, I think.
yeah.
It's his own fault.
Yeah.
Did you get him a good one as well?
Do you know what? I'd like to think it was anyhow. Like, you know,
Would you have got
he'd probably saying it just brushed off his chin. Like I tell people, I sparked
Would you got the ball out the box?
Ambulance came. Right? He was concussed. He was in the ICU for about a week. It's grown legs.
How was it when he
come in?
When he come in afterwards?
To be fair, I was absolutely mortified. I couldn't believe I actually did it. And I went into the changing room, and I just sat in the toilet, just closed the door, and they came in at half time. And I was so ashamed nearly to actually come out of the changing room, and I just kept my head down. I just like and I was trying to run over in my mind, and there was part of me just pack your bag, and just even in my gear I was thinking I'd just go and get a ferry home, like, you know, all sorts of mad things was going through my head. So then after the game it was all a bit silent, nothing really kind of said. Bearing in mind I was only like 20, 21 years of age. I was only a young lad, like, and I didn't really know, and there were senior pros there, and you're trying to understand the change room and the game and the dynamics, and these were all new to me, and it was professional. It was like lads are learning, they're living here, like, you know, it was a whole different type of mindset. So I went back to the digs, 39 Caradic Avenue it was called. We used to call it the Big Brother House. I get the phone call off Brownie, the manager. Kenny goes, Gaffer, right, what's the crack? He says, up into the office now. So first thing in the morning, I go up into the office in Jenner Park. And it's lovely because it looks right out onto the pitch, and it's got a running track and a nice little stadium around it. And he goes, that's a disgrace, can't have you hit me players, got the whole riot act and you're waiting for it. And he pulls out an envelope and he goes, there's fine 2 weeks wages and stuff like that. And by the way, you've got an 8 game ban. I was like, you're joking. And I went, do you know what? Slid it back to him. I said, you can have the 2 weeks and you can have the rest of my contract. I'm going back to Ireland. And he did the biggest thing of a handbrake turn that I've ever seen. He's gone, ooh, hang on a second now.
Oh, the horses.
Yeah. We've got loads of clubs watching. West Ham have been here. Coventry have been here. QPR have been here. Portsmouth have been here. All the clubs that I actually ended up either going to on trial or that I played for were there that day. And the funny thing was, Jamie Marley, who's an agent now, Jamie was there, and I just remember him coming into the change room afterwards, and I'm lowering a snake's belly, and he just turned around, he got a little dig in, like, and he was like, I heard all the seats flap, all the agents walked out when you did that. Like, I was like, oh my God, that's...
You think you fucked it?
Yeah, I fucked it, yeah, that's it. That's me done, because everyone's thinking...
Lunatic.
So Brownie then turns around, pulls the handbrake, and he goes, don't do anything rash. Hang on a second now. Let's think about this, right? Let's think about this. Here, you can have your 2 weeks back. He picks up his phone and he goes, Glenn, yeah, it's, you're looking at that keeper. And he says, yeah. He said, look, he can get down to you for a few days. And he's like, you're not in the middle of the season. He says, no, look, we need the money. Like, we're struggling for a few quid. We can send them down. Definitely think he'll do something for you. So he goes, go pack your bag. I run down to 39 Cardiff Avenue, pick up my gear bag, back up. I'm in his A-class silver Merc, lacing down the M4, round the M25, arriving at West Ham. I arrived there on the Monday, was it the Monday evening? And I got offered a contract by Glenn Roeder on the Thursday to sign for West Ham. I got a 2.5 year deal.
Some trial, that.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
That is some trial.
Yeah. I think I took all my frustration on the 3 days I was there.
Have you been
looking
clever?
back,
It was the most insane thing ever. It was off the Richter scale.
Have you been cute there when you've gone to see Brownie, the manager? Have you known that the fine's coming, or were you willing to actually pack your bags and go back?
I was done. Honest to God. I did not even know he was going to find me. It was like an outer body experience. I'm sat in there talking to him. And you've probably all had that at some stage, being released, or you've never been released, have you?
Once, yeah, 33, I think, 34.
Yeah. And you know, that outer body experience where someone delivers bad news to you and it's just going in one ear and out the other, you just can't take it in. And all in my mind was just, he was talking, all I could hear was see his mouth moving, and all I was thinking was, right, I'm on the next flight or the next ferry, but then I'm done.
Yeah, 4 days later, was it? You signed for West Ham?
Yeah. So I'm gone down there, and I walk into, it was Chadwell Heath back then. It's all revolutionised now. It's a whole brand new place down there. And at the time it was porta cabins and just this barn, and there was like an indoor carpet. There was no AstroTurf or anything, 4G or anything like back then. It was proper Luton Town back in the day, like absolute grass burns. So gone in, met Glenn Roeder, welcome lads, start to have a look around, going into the old school boot room. I'm in there and I'm seeing the Canio's boots, David James, and I'm just in the boot room. You know that smell of polish back in the day? Like it was amazing. And I walk through the doors, and it was partitioned, the whole indoor barn. And the top quarter of it was a gym. So next thing I look over, and Trevor Sinclair's in there, and he's doing the bench press, and he's giving it the lat pull down, and he's got his little gym gloves on and everything else, like, and absolute biceps.
Oh, God. The gloves are a bit poncy, Trevor. Yeah. I mean, no one the calluses, does he?
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
No shirt on and gloves as well.
Yeah. I wonder if he still got them. You should ask him to come down. And so he's there on doing his weights, and just said hello, and he said, oh, you're Irish? And he goes, my mum is Irish. And he started talking about Luke Kelly and the Dubliners, and I was like, this is blowing my mind.
Surreal.
Trevor Sinclair is actually Irish. So I have the crack with Trev. I go up to the curtain, and I look behind the curtain, all I hear is this dum, 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 thumping. And I look in, it was Paolo Di Canio. And he's doing keep you up, he's on the shoulders, on the head, ball didn't drop. It was probably the best thing I've ever seen done with a football.
Yeah.
He volleys his right foot off the wall, comes back onto his chest, pops it the first time, left foot. Bearing in mind it's 20 yards, 20, 30 feet, whatever, in the middle of the gym. And he's doing this for about 10 minutes. Ball didn't drop once, and I'm like this, just mesmerised. And I thought, right, I'm going into a whole different world here. And it was. And even driving into the car park, there's Lamborghinis. I didn't even know what a Lamborghini was. There was Porsches. Probably just knew what a Porsche was. And a Ferrari, absolute Magnum PI, that was about the height of it. And just the wealth and everything else. And I was thinking, oh my God, Barrytown, I was on £300 a week. 6 months before that, playing in the League of Ireland, I was on 50-50, we used to call it. 50 basic, 50 appearance. Now all of a sudden I'm on £1,500 a week, and I thought, right, I've won the lotto here. But still,
Quick, get me a Ferrari.
yeah, exactly. One day. Yeah. So, that was me signing for West Ham.
Was David James your hero? Is that growing up?
Yeah,
And all of a sudden you're sharing a changing room with him?
absolutely. I'm sat down beside him. I'm about 18% body fat, absolute tires and layers on me. I'm sitting beside an absolute Armani model. And that was like hard enough as well, because you're looking at this absolute Adonis. And I'm here like little tub sitting in the corner going, oh my God, I've a lot to do. And he was in pristine condition.
Was it a case of don't meet your heroes?
No, well, it depends on which way you look at it.
It's just from what we've heard in the past from other players that he didn't have much time for the younger lads and people.
Other goalkeepers,
other
really.
goalkeepers coming through.
Yeah, I think he definitely was quite difficult in terms of if your match pace wasn't right, if you're doing volleys or whipping in crosses and corners before the game, he'd just catch the ball and he'd volley it over the train tracks. And one day he went to volley it, and Ludo McCloskey, who was an absolute Czech Republican giant, big Ludo, was stood beside him and he volleyed the ball and it missed his nose by that much. And the two of them just square up to each other. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not pulling them two apart.
I want to see a bit of this one.
Yeah, this would have been UFC. This would have been an absolute ding dong. Like, this would have been Ludo was a machine. And so he'd be giving off to the young lads, get the pace right, sort your service out, match pace, all this kind of. I was kind of sat there. And I dollied one in one day and he only starts giving on to me. And I said, piss off, JMO. I said, what? Does a slow ball not come in a fucking game just because you got fucking shit hands? And after that, he actually just respected me after that. Because, I used to be the same thing. I'd be like, oh, match pace, man, not match pace. And it was always the little slow ones I'd drop. He'd be like, it's too slow. He'd be like, get that away from me. So after that, then I just respected him, and he was phenomenal as a goalkeeper. Absolute amazing.
Did drop a lot of clang. He did come for a lot of crosses he maybe shouldn't have done though, didn't he?
Do you know what? When I went to Portsmouth and Saul Campbell, obviously he was gone at that time, but Saul turned around and he was asked who was the best keeper he played with, and he said David James. And they said, why did he come for it? Because he said, because of the amount of crosses he came for. He said no one ever talks about, he claimed 90, 95, 99% of them. And all the centre-halves always said it. And, even when I went to Portsmouth and Paul Cook was there, Cookie turned around to me and said, you just keep coming. He said, if you drop one or two, no problem. He says, I know the law of averages, you'll claim more than... But JMO just got nailed for that.
Because didn't he come out and say that he struggled with concentration and stuff? Should have gone for the Japper, shouldn't he? Should have took him to the big dog.
He should have went for the
Himalayas.
meditation.
The big dog.
Yeah, he should have went for the mantras and the chanting. Yeah. No, I think he was flat out on the PlayStation and all that, wasn't he? Yeah. And he's very arty. He's very creative. He played in the. Do you remember Wembley was getting reconstructed, and they played Australia in Upton Park, and he was at West Ham at that time. So apparently he was in the hotel room. And next thing on the game, they showed, I don't know, did they draw 0-0 or 1-0 or 1-1. And he did his cruciate or one of his ligaments in his knee during that game. And they showed a picture of his gloves. And he had a picture of a blonde bird painted onto one of his gloves and her naked body on the other. And he wore them in the game. And I said, where'd you get those gloves? And he said, I was in the room board and I painted them onto my gloves. That's what he did. He was like so artistic. He was so creative. And he collected BMXs and all sorts of random, but very fascinating man, very well-educated guy, clever man.
We'd probably say weirdo, won't we?
Yeah.
We class that as weird.
Technical term.
Weirdo.
Was Bywater in and around that squad?
Stevie was there.
What's your favourite Bywater story?
Because he's a lunatic.
I was at Luton. I went on Luton on loan from Cardiff. And Don Hutchinson was there. And it was a Luton side that had like loads of old pros and still had a bit. It was a great squad, But Don Hutchinson was there and Hutch was injured at the time. And him and Hutch were tight when they were at West Ham. So I hadn't seen Stephen for years. Hadn't seen Hutch for years. Hadn't seen lads for ages. So I'm in anyhow one day, I'm on the medical bed or whatever, and I said, by the way, Hutch, I said, are you still speaking with Stevie? And he goes, oh, yeah. I said, how is he? And he said, he's got married. And I said, oh, he's got married to his girlfriend, that long-term girlfriend. And he goes, oh, no, that never happened. And I was like, you're joking me. That never happened. I said, they were, proper in love and all that. Like, they were childhood sweethearts, that whole thing and everything else. And he said, no. I said, I'll tell you what happened. And I says, go on. He said, he got the engagement ring. Yeah, went off. Has the engagement ring. That night he's gone out to propose. So has the shower, gets shaved, has the wedding ring, grabs his wallet, grabs his phone, out the door. He's like, right, I'm going to do this now. I'm going to propose to her. Right, gets out of the taxi, goes in to knock on the door. Ding dong. She opens the door and he goes, holy shit, I've left me ring and me wallet and everything in the car. And he goes, we're over. We're done. It was a sign.
No.
Yeah. We're over. We're done. And next thing...
I'm not laughing for the girl. It's just typical him, innit? Just totally him.
I've left loads of stuff in cars.
I should never eat kebabs again, me. I've left kebabs in Cardiff in taxi before.
I've left beers behind me on the bar, still not giving it up. Yeah.
A very quick break to talk about our bestest of friends in the world of sportswear, O'Neill's Sportswear.
I did not think it was possible, but you look even better in that shirt with a tan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What size are you wearing?
Medium.
All the way to 7XL, can I just say?
Which is not bad, is it, for the bigger gentleman or lady?
Not only are they unbelievable quality, but if you've got your own team, you can design, create your own kit. 5 aside, 3 aside, 2 aside, 11 aside, 12 aside. Maybe you're just you on your own and you want 5 shirts.
What's the minimum order?
12?
I think 12 is the minimum order.
And
you can have 12 shirts in the wardrobe.
4 to 6 weeks from design to the deliverer, which I think is very, very, very reasonable.
Considering it's custom design.
Custom made.
Yeah.
Very efficient.
Mm-hmm. Take a look at the Cosh shirts as well. We do 4 different colours, 4 different strips.
Yeah. So the link's in the description for the Undr The Cosh shirt and to sort your own team out and get your club kitted out. And like we said, I think you're winning 1-0.
There's nothing better than turning up at an away game looking smart.
Yeah.
Stick a pair of jeans on, stick a corduroy short on.
Look
at $1 million.
Yeah. I think I would have, not the shorts.
So links
Have
in the
a look.
description. Get yourself involved. And once again, massive thanks to O'Neill Sportswear.
You will not be disappointed.
Were you ever close to making an appearance at West Ham?
I was due to go on loan. I'd come back on loan for Barnet. They'd sent me out on loan to Barnet at the time. And at the time, Martin Allen was manager, Mad Dog, which is a great guy. He was amazing. And Mad Dog, I ended up finishing my loan, get called back to West Ham. And I thought it was kind of done at West Ham because Alan Pardew kind of came in at that time. But he'd gone to see me and he thought, all right, this guy actually does have something. He's young, everything else. So I come back to West Ham, phone rings, do you want to go to Brentford? Martin Allen had just gone to Brentford. Martin Allen was looking for a keeper to the end of the season. I thought, oh, happy days, Brentford. I don't know whether they're League 1 or League 2 in the league. I thought this would be an amazing move. My contract's up, happy days. So I jump into my car, get round the M25 and I'm coming up the M3 or the A3 heading towards Brentford. Ludo McCloskey rings me. Loan is cancelled. You got turned around. Hadn't even signed for them, so I had to turn right back around. Stephen had got injured. Pavel Cernicek was there at the time as well. God bless him. I'm on the bench, so I was on the bench, and that's probably the closest. I was on the bench then for 5 games. That was in the that was about the closest I got to it. Yeah.
Did you feel like you were making that progress when you've been to Barnet? And I mean, obviously, you were saying you didn't feel ready, but at least now you're playing.
Exactly. You go to Barnet. I'm so used to, there's a few thousand people playing. that's what I was used to playing in the League of Ireland and playing in the League of Wales. So it felt very comfortable. Plus the wealth and the money wasn't there also. So
Still worlds apart, isn't it, though, at the same time?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I just felt really comfortable there. And to be fair, Alan Pardew was amazing, how he integrated me into the team. And it's often something that's overlooked, personally, what I feel. He gets everyone onto into the middle of Underhill at the time, and it was like a 12-foot slope on that thing.
Oh, yeah.
It was mental, wasn't it? And he gets everyone into the centre circle. I'm standing there as a new guy, and he says, right, lads, you've all got one question. And sure, the banter started then. What's your mother's name? What's your sister's name? How many sisters have you got? All the crack started happening, and all the lads had one question. And then I just felt so in. Then that night we travel away, and he does a whole dinner. Everybody had to come down. New player came. He'd have a shirt and tie. You had to wear a shirt and tie down for dinner. And then he'd present you with the Barnet tie. You put the tie on, you sit down, you have your dinner, and you think, oh, geez, I felt really part of it really quickly. I settled into it really quickly. Then I'm in the middle of Underhill, and I'm looking around in the stadium, go right in under the stand, absolute old school stadium. And I'm sat around looking around the benches, and I look up and I see a collage up on the wall. And it's got all the players in dressed like chefs, dressed like gardeners, the whole 9 yards. So what Martin used to do at the start of every year, coming towards the end of pre-season or the start of pre-season, he'd get them all around to their house in Reading. He had to report to his house in Reading, and he'd have overalls, paintbrushes. So he had 2 or 3 lads painting his house, painting his walls, cutting his grass. And then afterwards, he'd have a massive barbecue and an absolute session afterwards. But there was a great camaraderie, and then they had a big collage, and throughout the season, you'd be looking at all these pictures, and you'd be just in stitches laughing, lads telling the stories.
I like a barbecue and a drink, but I'm not bothered about fucking cutting his
I
grass.
just imagine his missus
painting
like, bloody grass needs doing, that shelf needs painting, shed needs clearing out, and then he's just like, we'll have a barbecue, get the lads around.
Yeah. But if the gaffer asked you, if the gaffer said, right,
pretty much got to do it. And
you're there like that, you're raging like that. So yeah, that was
Just a Miyagi.
that was amazing. Yeah. Wax on, wax off.
So I know we spoke about it before, but how did it all end at West Ham?
Yes. So we were in the playoff final against Palace. That was the year where they were bottom at Christmas and get promoted under Dowie.
Dowie, yeah.
It was leading up. We'd beat, I think it was Ipswich. I think we'd beat Ipswich 4-2 in the playoffs. And we're in getting the suits made. It's usually the 10 days, isn't it, before you get to the playoff. And we're in getting the suits fitted. Well, let's go into the gym to get the suits fitted. List was up, and there was 2 names that were omitted from that list. Was mine and Elliot Ward's. So me and Wardy were like, well, it looks like we're actually not going to. And that was gutting, to be fair. I was devastated with that, because it would have been amazing to go to a playoff final. Manager comes up and he says, look, you're not travelling. And I turned around and I says, right, well, if I'm not travelling, I'm heading back to Ireland for the weekend. And he said, right, just make sure you're back on Tuesday, because the playoff final used to be on the bank holiday Monday. Yeah, he said, be back on Tuesday for the parade. And as soon as he just said parade, I thought, it just had a tinge of arrogance. Maybe it was confidence, who knows. And I just thought, I don't get a good feeling from this. And the team should have definitely won that game. And then Stevie B makes the save. Shipperley taps it in 1-0, lose the game. And basically that was my time up at West Ham. I'd go fly back, pick up my car, drive into the training ground, black bag into the pigeonholes, into the kit man, say me goodbye, pack up my apartment, and I drive back to Ireland.
So he's told you before the game, if they get promoted, you've got a new contract.
Yeah.
So
I'm watching the game.
Where are you watching it? Are you going to a pub? Have you got it at home?
I'm watching it. I met my wife probably 2 years just before that. I just kind of gone to work. So she'd be flying. Well, we weren't married straight away, but she'd be coming over to see me in London. I'd be going to see her. She had Michaela. Michaela was 5, and it was Michaela's communion. So I flew back, got all dressed up, gone to the communion, sitting there in the community, everyone's all celebrating and it's a big day for everybody, and I'm just glued to the television. And then a lot of, I speak about it in the book about how many people are coming up to you saying what's happening at West Ham, and I'm just glued to the TV here, and I'm watching it, and I have to actually get up and go outside. And I go up outside and I'm having a beer, and some lad was sitting beside me and he was like, "You look like a lad that needs a fag." Like, and I was like, "Yeah, go on then." So I was sitting outside for the whole second half, couldn't even watch the game. And then I walk in, I see the result, and I actually go, "Right, that's the end of West Ham." And to be fair, I was done with football. I was like, I'm done. I'm leaving.
I was going to say, was it a relief? Because you were saying about your homesickness and you were going to go back after Barry. Was there a bit of relief in there, in a weird kind of way, even though your contract hasn't been extended?
Exactly. Be careful what you wish for. Like, yeah, exactly. And there was that sense of, all right, I can go home back to Ireland now, start again. I loved playing Gaelic football. So I thought, right, I'll go back, do my best to get into the Galway team, win an All-Ireland at Croke Park. I'll go back, become a teacher. I go back and become a mature student, go back work and build a house back home, and happily marry my wife and live happily ever after. That was the genuine plan. I was so done with football. And leaving the training ground, I got a phone call from Leroy Rossignol. Do you want to come to Torquay? We're League 2 at the time. Be a great move for you. I've seen you on loan and all those different things. Great potential, the usual stuff. And I was like, really, thanks, Leroy, but I'm off home. Boop. Straight to Holyhead on the ferry home.
Wow. So by sort of 23, 24, you sacked football off twice, haven't you? Like you fucked it off twice.
Yeah.
Much.
Yeah.
And a lot of lads that, the goal in life is to be a professional footballer.
Yeah.
To even get that opportunity at Torquay is like snatch your hand off opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're done.
I was just so disheartened. I was so disillusioned. There was just, a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, a lot of anxiety, all those different elements that I just didn't like the way it made me feel, even though it was my dream and I was so desperate to play for Ireland and to play professionally and all that, and really getting into the nuts and bolts of it. It wasn't the glitz and glamour that I thought it would be. There was a lot of isolation, a lot of loneliness, all those different layers, all those different elements in it. And even though, you get into the training ground and once you get onto the pitch, you'd forget about everything else. But then that was maybe an hour or two every day.
It's mad. Because then you get another, the Cardiff thing. Where's your mindset at then when Cardiff come in for you? Because you've already, like Johnny says, you've give up the ghost twice.
Yeah. So I'm drinking quite heavily at that stage, and my girlfriend, now my wife Alison, comes home one day and she's out working. We're renting a house and we're trying to get things started, and she absolutely nails me one day. She's like, "Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Get your shit sorted. I'm out here working my arse off, and you're in there wallowing in bed, and you need to go and do something." And it woke me up. Yeah, and I thought, right, what's the plan? I said, right, I'll drive into my old school, become a teacher. I'll go back and study at college. I'll go back playing Gaelic football. And that was the plan. That's how it started to work. So then I got a job as at Christmas time as a postman, going around delivering mail on a little big black High bicycle, we used to call it the Black Beast.
Terrible timing though, isn't it?
Yeah.
December, it's freezing, isn't it? Freezing and very busy.
You still had shorts on though, they always do, don't
Exactly, yeah. I still had the shorts on, and sure, it was good.
So you're not playing football at all in this period? Just the Gaelic stuff, or when you've gone back to Ireland?
Yeah, not playing at all. And I go back as a mature student into university, and I'm doing geography, history, sociology, politics, and philosophy at the time. And at the time I thought, right, I don't understand a word or a thing that's actually going on here.
I've got Frank the Tank in my head. Yeah. Mature student just getting pissed.
Yeah, just going off in sessions. Well,
I'll just miss that one today.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't really because the thought did cross my mind. But then with Ali and we at home and Michaela was 5 and all that, there was more responsibilities than that. And I was thinking, right, I really need to sort my life out here, because I'm on treading a thin path. So I'm not playing football. like that, then another divine intervention comes in. Stephen Kenny, the ex-Ireland manager, he was manager at Derry City at the time. I get a phone call from him. And he's like, all right, David, this is Stephen here. Do you want to come play for Derry City? And I'm like, not really. I said, I'm done with football. And he said, where are you? I says, I'm back in Galway. He drove down from Derry, 180 miles down to Galway to meet me. So he comes meet me and he says, right, come to Derry till the end of the season. Just play on a Friday night. You can train back in Galway. You can do whatever else, and you'll get a nice few quid for yourself. Drive up on a Thursday night. We'll put you up in a hotel. Play the game on Friday. You come back to your family for the week. And I thought, yeah, let's do that. So we did that. I did that for the last 11, 12 games of the season.
Are you still at university as well?
Still at university. So I was still able to do my university.
Yeah.
Then the following year, he had a grand plan, because he knew we'd just get the juices going again. And I was starting to enjoy football again. I was like, right, I'm really enjoying this. Then they went full-time the following year. They were in Europe. Well, we qualified for Europe the following year. Next year, both years I was there, we lost the league on goal difference. But we had amazing runs in Europe. We got to play Paris Saint-Germain. They beat us 2-0 on aggregate. 0-0 in Derry, 2-0 out there. We beat Gothenburg, home and away. We beat Gretna. So we went on a serious run. We got one game. I think we were about 30 minutes away from getting to the group stages back then.
Have you knocked the letters on the head? You're not delivering it?
Not delivering the letters. Postman's gone, hung up me hat and me gloves on the bicycle. Retired that.
I think of them European games when they're like, oh, keeper's a postman, he's a rat catcher.
Yeah. But actually I worked in bars.
Yeah.
I was a barman. I worked in supermarkets. I was a merchandiser for Coca-Cola and Cadbury's. I was a postman. I was working for my dad on the building sites. I was doing all sorts of jobs just to make ends meet at the time, So
did you have to finish university? Was there a decision?
Yes. So they went full-time the following year and it was like, right, go back playing full-time with Derry or university. And I was actually funny enough, I was doing my last assignment in history was St. Patrick. And St. Patrick, as an Irishman, we all know it's all about unfinished business. So I was always like, right, I've unfinished business here back in the UK. Packed in the university. I had a great 2 years with Derry. Played my last game was the FAI Cup final in 2006, the last game at Lansdowne Road. Won that. We beat St. Pat's 4-3 in an absolute epic. And I had signed for Cardiff then.
And how old are you here now?
I'm 26.
It's been some whirlwind up to that point.
Yeah. I've been in, I've been out, I've been done. I've been a butcher, a baker, candlestick maker. Do you know what I mean?
Postman.
Yeah, postman. The whole 9 yards. Yeah.
Were you in a better mindset though at this time? Did you, if you think back, going over to Cardiff?
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of homesickness?
Yeah, I got married at 26. We were just, myself and Ali had just got married. And she was amazing for me, she was such a rock and such a stabilising force for me and such a great support. Cardiff had come in and I remember ringing her saying Cardiff have offered me a contract. She was 6 months pregnant at that stage. And I remember saying to her, right, we've got a 1.5 year contract. It's not a lot, but definitely feel like could get an extension or could do well and move on. But I'm not moving over on my own. I'm not going doing that again, And I said, if you say no, I said, that's grand. I'll just do my League of Ireland, do whatever I have to do in Ireland. I'm happy with that. So she says, right, let's go, let's move. So signed for Cardiff, 1.5 years. She moves over 7 months pregnant. And I'm like, how many women would actually, not even know the hospital, doctors, anything else. Next thing she's like, I'm in. And we ended up buying a house in Cardiff, settling into Cardiff. That was an absolute rodeo of a 1.5 years also, because then that was 2008. So that was 2007 into 2008. And then the crash came. I was out of contract again. Absolutely skint, absolutely broke. I bought a house for 425 grand at the time, or 450. Put a lot of money into it, and that house, I think I lost 100 and something grand in it at the time. Oh. And I was on 99% mortgages and under all sorts of serious pressure, So that was carnage. That was an interesting 1.5 years as well.
I was looking at it because obviously the end when you signed for Millwall, you played that many games, but by the time is it 27-ish when you left Cardiff?
Yes, I was 28.
28.
28,
You
yeah.
played 14 games in England?
Yeah.
By
that stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, 14 league games.
Young family. Are you just thinking, like, persist with it?
That was it. I'd come down and I remember thinking, right, what do I do here? Like, because I'd end up going on loan to Bournemouth towards the end of that season. And I've gone down there, and Kevin Bond was gaffer, and it was actually so funny. And I've come into the changing room, and we've played our first game. I think we got tanked. Was it by Leeds? Oh no, first game was away to Leeds. We got beat 4-0 or something. I'm like, I had a disaster. I had an absolute shocker. Right? I think I conceded. We got lost 4. I think gave away about 5 goals. But anyhow, the lads were all just sat there, kind of giggling and laughing. Next thing, Bondi comes in. And he was great mates with Harry. He was always with Harry Redknapp, and they loved the horses and backing the horses. So next thing, Bondi's in here. I'm sat beside him. Next thing, he starts getting stripped. He starts getting changed. He's taking off his gear and he's nailing lads. And he's like, "You should be doing this. You should be that." And with each thing, it's like nearly strip poker. Next thing, before I knew it, his nuts were basically on my shoulder. And the lads are trying their best to keep their laughing, and I'm trying to look straight, because if I look left, like, he's meeting 2 veggies like there, like, yeah, exactly, yeah. And so that was great. And then we went on an unbelievable run. We won 8 or 9 games, and we got to the last game of the season. We were 14 points off staying up. We managed to get to the last game of the season against Carlisle. If we beat Carlisle, we would have stayed up. But we ended up drawing 1-1, and we went down. We got relegated, and then the club. That's when Bournemouth it was around that time they were really, really struggling financially. And I thought, right, I've done well. Played against Millwall, saved a penalty against Neil Harris, bottom right hand corner. Goalkeeping coach Tony Burns, he was like me surrogate dad, came up to me in the tunnel afterwards. He was like, "Oh, well played, son," And I just felt at that moment, I was like, right, there's definitely something happening here.
Were you feeling like going into Millwall? Were you feeling like you were ready to come in as the playing week in, week out? Because obviously up to that point, it's been second choice, third choice.
You've still not got a hell of a lot of games under your belt, really, have you?
No.
For a goalkeeper, goalkeepers tend to get obviously better with age and experience and that. You're still very inexperienced, really.
Yeah, and I'm nearly retired. Like,
I suppose that's what I'm
looking twice.
I suppose
Ringing
that's
the PFA, can I get me pension at 26? Like, yeah.
I suppose that's what I'm alluding to. Like, was your mindset of, I want that number 1 shirt going into Millwall?
Yeah, it was really the first time Kenny Jackett. He was the first manager that turned around and went, "I want you as my number 1." And that felt like, geez, I grew 10 foot tall.
Yeah.
And there was just something, I was so attracted to Millwall. They've always had a history of Irish players. Now the dream really became alive. It was like, if I'm number 1 in League One, get promoted, get to the Championship. Now Ireland opens right up. That was my kind of, my thinking.
In terms of a club to start getting that mindset, excusing the pun, it is into the lion's den, isn't it? Because we've heard about the fans, if you're trying and you're doing well, they're with you. If you're dropping clangers, they could be against you.
And that's actually one of the chapters into the Lion's Den, yeah. And I remember the first time driving up to this ground and up to the stadium. And the week before that, I'd made my debut with Oldham up in Boundary Park, and we got beat 4-3. We were 3-0 up or 3-1 up actually, and absolutely cruising with 10 minutes to go, and our captain Paul Robinson gets sent off, and Lee Hughes, who was on absolute fire at that stage, he banged in a couple of goals and we could beat 4-3. Then we come down for our first home game, and I'm thinking, Jesus, what a debut, I've just conceded 4 goals, 2 goals. And I'm walking in, everyone's like, "Oh, best of luck today. And this fine comes over him out of the corner and he goes, "Forde, you..." Can I say that?
Say what you want, Tony.
Yeah. He was like, "Forde, you scum cunt. You West Ham fucking reject. You cunt. You fucking 4 goals." And I got fucking pissed wet last week and spent a fortune. And you let 4 goals in. And I was like, cheers. I'm like, right, that's just one of them.
Yeah.
So I'm walking in the middle of the change room and I'm just like going, oh my God, I got to make me debut out here. And there's probably 12, 15,000 Millwall fans out here. I'm like, right, best of luck. And it was fairly intimidating. And but exhilarating at the same time. I just felt so at home. I felt, right, this is so me. I couldn't arrive at a better club.
It's a strange one to feel at home, really, isn't it? From the outside. You know what I mean? It's like, I'd think, well, I don't know if I'd fancy going and playing there.
But I think if you do well, I think it'd be a good place to play.
Galvanise you as being part of the club.
Yeah. Well, where did you feel that? Did you feel that at any club where you felt, right, I feel at home here, I feel this is it?
Probably Preston, I think.
Yeah.
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 But I think you just mean how intimidating it is.
Yeah,
and
from the outside you think, oh, it's a tough fucking place to go and play that.
Yeah, it is. I always felt that if you can play at these clubs, you could play anywhere. One was Millwall, the other one was probably Stoke, the other one was Cardiff and Leeds. I think if you could play at those 4 clubs, you could probably play anywhere.
When was it that you got promoted? At the playoffs, was it your second season?
Yes, second season we got promoted. We got to the final the first year. They just stayed up. The year we got relegated with Bournemouth, Millwall just about stayed up. So that would have been the first time if they went down to to League Two, first time ever. But they managed to stay up. John Burleson bought the club. Kenny was manager, and they wanted to get promoted. So that first full season, or that season, we got to the playoff final against Scunthorpe. And they beat us 3-2 in an absolute epic. That's the one where Gary Alexander scored the absolute best goal I've ever seen at Wembley, where he's laced it in over Joe Murphy's head. We're
Martin
2-1
Woodford scored.
Woodley scored.
Scunthorpe.
Yes.
Sunday.
It was a Sunday, must have been out. Remember
It actually was a Sunday.
Martin Woodford scored.
Yeah.
I remember he run all up the side of the touchline.
Yeah. Yeah. It was 4:20 and I was going from the 8th point. And Wooly scores and it's 2-2. Then they score 3-2. And I wouldn't mind we're 2-1 up just before that. And Gary would have been on for the perfect hat-trick. He'd scored left foot, right foot and header. We get to the byline, or Chris Hackett gets to the byline, whips one across the goal. Gary runs in, who's been great with his head for years. And you would have put your absolute mortgage on him to score. I mean to say he's probably about a yard out and he puts it wide. It's impossible to miss.
Somebody told us to ask you about smoking cigars at Wembley. Which time was that?
That was the year after.
Right.
So bearing in mind, John and Kenny came into the change room after the game and we're all absolutely devastated, gutted. Plus, you're thinking your wages double. It's life-changing stuff for myself.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, right, that's my Irish opportunity now going out the window. I have to wait another year. Now I'm going to be 30 if I even get back to a playoff.
And in your mind, are you thinking they're not going to pick a League One goalkeeper for Ireland?
Yeah.
No matter how well you're doing, they're just not going to pick one.
Not well, yeah. Well, you had Shea, Paddy Kenny was flying. Kieran Westwood was doing really well. So after that game, I remember just thinking, right, that was one of the lowest I felt after a game.
But in that year, your mindset has really shifted.
Yes.
Because now you've gone from having a bit of self-doubt and confidence issue
Playing every game.
to my goal is to be an Ireland international.
Yeah, I played every game, every minute, cup games, the whole 9 yards, 46 games. Because when I went to the club, I thought I had this kind of idea that you play maybe 25, 30 games and you might have knocks and you might have this and form and all that kind of thing. And Tony Burns just looked me in the eyes and he was like, you play every game. You're number one goalie. You got to play every game. And I was like, right, okay, fair enough. Then the following year, that pre-season, that's when I went into absolute performance mode. My diet started to change. I was doing, I was getting up in the morning. I was on the exercise bike for fat burning for 45 minutes, eating a bowl of porridge, doing my weights, doing my goalkeeping, coming back in, and my whole level of professionalism started to change. Then we get back the following year, back to Wembley again, which is it's kind of unheard of. You lose 1 year and you come back the following year. We managed to beat Swindon 1-0. And I swear to God, the euphoria I felt after that game, it was like I swear, every neurochemical, every hormone in my body, I didn't even have a drink. I didn't even have to drink after. I was on such a high after that game.
Get the cigars out.
That's the one. That's what I was trying to remember.
Couldn't get a drink in because it's just full of...
exactly. Yeah. I couldn't smoke because all the fucking cigars I was smoking. And John Burleson, Boston businessman, and he passed away there season before last, God bless him, in an accident. And I had a great relationship with John. And next thing he comes into the change room, Millwall or Wembley had just been basically built back then, whatever it was, 500 million or something. He goes into the changing room and there's champagne flying everywhere. He pulls out a lardy, massive Cuban, starts smoking it. I went, here, chairman, give us one of them. He chucks me a Cuban. The two of us are in the middle of Wembley Stadium. He's got the proper clippers, smoking this Cuban. Next thing the security guards come in. Oh my God, there's smoke alarms, you're going to burn the place down. He's like, it's just been built. He goes, I don't care, I'll build a better one. And he kept smoking. I'm here smoking this cigar in the middle of, and it just became a thing then. We had this thing where the two of us used to just smoke cigars. Yeah, it was crack like. Yeah. I must track that photo down.
Just imagine Keith Lark, fire officer, there's somebody smoking in here, so find out where it is.
Wembley burnt to the ground by an Irishman and an American.
Tell you what, lads, there's nothing like Wednesday night in, couple of beers, watching Bromby versus Sickleborg.
I'm with you.
You know a couple of lads playing, don't you? Mm-hmm. So we got on the Danish league, got the VPN on, bounced it over. Perfect.
Sickleborg are a lot better team than what I thought.
I know. They've surprised me today. Well, if you didn't know, with NordVPN, you can bounce your location to anywhere in the world, and it's perfect for watching anything, but specifically sports. Like we've been abroad, bounce your location to the UK, get on your subscriptions, watch the match.
And as for the security, keeps all the passwords, bank details, everything under lock and key.
So I weren't aware that they could get on your shizzle. You know when you're going in an hotel or whatever.
Them hackers, when you're just using public Wi-Fi, hacking in, not with NordVPN.
Got to be careful.
Extra layer of security. And of course, we've got an offer. Links in the description.
This is the big dog.
4 months free.
How many?
4 months free subscription plus 30-day money-back guarantee.
Well, we can't say any better than that.
I'm honestly lost for words.
Yeah. Oh, yes! Ida Legerson. What a goal.
Ida
Legerson. He just signed this summer.
Beautiful looking man and all. Beautiful.
Somebody told us to ask you about when you chinned Billy Knott away at Bradford in the FA Cup run. Millwall legend, he finished that.
Yeah, I do. I remember it because I had a photo with Billy Knott in the game afterwards and John Stead, and I think I've actually got both of them held off in my hand. And I don't think I've chinned them, but it looks like in the photo that I have chinned them. Well, maybe I might have kind of given him a little sly one, like, you know what I mean? And it all kicked off just by the sideline. They were beating us. We were having an absolute disastrous run, and there was just a big Millie, big Danny Shoe who was in there, and we all just piled in. And sure, we're just grabbing hold of lads, and sure, you know, you grab hold of a shirt, and oftentimes it slips, and you might catch someone on the chin.
It's a nightmare when that happens.
The dark arts, like yeah, exactly, yeah. So it was probably
that
one of them
cup
ones.
Run? Was that the cup run, the semi-final, 2012?
No, they actually beat us. Bradford beat us.
Oh, did they?
So I don't know, was that before or after that? Because we beat. You weren't at Blackburn then. We beat Blackburn in the semis. David Dunn and them were there.
No.
Yeah, we beat Blackburn in the semi-final. Or was it the quarter-final? And we beat Aston Villa on the way as well. And then we get to Wigan in the semi-final, which was crazy. Where, you know, because Millwall hadn't been to the new Wembley, and all of a sudden I was there in the playoffs and the 2 playoffs and an FA Cup semi-final, which was a great time. It was a great time at the club.
See, I can imagine it been good for you as a player, but I still don't think that they should play the semis at Wembley, mate.
No,
I agree.
Oh, yeah.
This of the FA Cup?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't be.
No, I think that's your pinnacle of...
Well, it was either Villa Park or Old Trafford,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Trafford,
Or Hillsborough.
Yeah.
I think that's the way it should be. I think playing at Wembley it kills it. It just kills it.
I think it takes the gloss off the getting to the final, I think.
Exactly, yeah. I'm the same. I'm old school, traditionalist. Let's start a campaign.
Who was your favourite manager at Millwall?
I really enjoyed my time with Kenny, primarily because he gave me the number 1 jersey and he gave me my first start in England, and really taught me how to be a number 1 and to be a proper pro. A lot of people mightn't agree with what I'm going to say next, but Ian Holloway, thoroughly enjoyed Ian as manager. He opened up my eyes to just a whole new way of how football should be played, and the type of playing, the type of styles, and the different approaches and stuff. He has a phenomenal mind for football, and very eccentric. He just loved football, and at times it was so intoxicating when he first came in. I was like, wow, this is amazing. Formations. He was on about squares on pitches, and they do this in Barcelona, and this is the way we're going to play. 4 or 5 passes, we hit the pitch, numbers game, outnumber them. He was amazing. And like that, as a goalkeeper, people would have said, maybe not the best with your feet, but sure, I was always told just get up to the centre forward. There was no pick out a pass or whatever else, and everybody says. And it actually irritates me when I hear that about people saying that, goalkeepers aren't good with their feet. It's actually lazy coaching and lazy management, because you wouldn't be playing football if you couldn't actually kick a ball.
Do you think you enjoyed that because of where you was in your career when Ian Holloway come in? Like, Kenny Jackett, keep it simple. You getting that, you needed that confidence at that time to be a number 1. Simple is probably what you needed.
Yeah, because I'd gone in at Millwall, and for 3 years I didn't miss a game. I played 147 games.
So you're established now, aren't you?
I'm established. Yeah, I'm in.
Now
there.
you can start thinking about spraying it around and
exactly.
Playing
I'm playing for Ireland and number 1 for Ireland, and all this mad stuff started to happen in such a short period, in such a short spell. And the thing was, what probably killed it between myself and Kenny was. And what killed my 153 game run or something was we're playing Peterborough at home it's early in the season, it must be September, October, and at that time in the championship it was a 6-pointer even then for relegation or to stay up. So we're 1-0 up, 2-0 up, and it comes to half time. And Paul Jones, you remember Paul Jones, the keeper?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He was in goals, and he's probably at the best game I've ever seen at the Den. He is, we should have been about 6 or 7 up at halftime. We are absolutely nailing them, battering them. So we come in at halftime, and Kenny comes in, and he used to always say that. He said, 2 goal is very dangerous lead, because usually one team gets 1, they get 2, and things crumble, So we've gone back out, and the whole stereotypical and the cliches, first half, second half, 2 total different performances in games. So they get a bit of wind up. I think it was Lee Frecklinton or Tomlinson.
Lee
Tomlin gets the ball, and the 2 of them nearly identical goals. 25 yards out, knee, chest, volley, or volley, knee, chest. 25 yards out, top corner, 2-2, whistle blows, boos ring around the stadium. I'm walking in absolutely furious. I was like, I can't believe we've actually drawn this game. So we come in afterwards, and James Henry was our right winger. He was he came on loan, so he was only young at the time. And I'm coming down the tunnel, and I'm absolutely livid. And I come into the Den, into our little sanctuary, and I'm sat down on the thing, and all I hear is the studs coming down, everyone coming off the pitch, and James Henry's going, goals from long distance, and all this kind of thing. And my ears prick up, I'm like...
Oh, so he's half blaming you?
Well, exactly. It's
fully blaming you, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Not an half.
Exactly, yeah. Indirectly. So my ears are actually picking up on this, and I'm just boiling, I'm just bubbling. Next thing, he comes in, and he sits down, and he's kind of muttering under his breath. He's like, goals from long distance, goals from long range, and stuff like that. And I look over at him, and I said, you better shut your fucking mouth. otherwise I'm going to break your fucking nose. And he looks at me like that. And then Kenny Jackett turns around and he says, Kenny walks in and he always used to have a rain jacket on with KJ on it. And Kenny walks into the change room and he goes, yeah, I think he's fucking right, I think he's right. Goals from long distance. And I look up and I was like, in my mind, I'm thinking, you're taking the side of a young pro here, cheeky little bollocks. And I'm here after playing 150 games for you and trying to do me best. And you're here having a go at me and stuff like that. And next thing he starts taking off his jacket. And sure, where I come from, taking off your coat, he's probably just the manager taking his coat off after the game.
He just wants to get warm.
Yeah, he's probably soaking. yeah.
He's put up radiators.
Yeah, he's roasting. He's like, I'm trying to take my coat off. And in my mind, I'm thinking, he wants to fight. So I jump up off the chair and I says, you said what? And I fucking go for him. I try to grab him by the throat.
Oh, no.
So Tony Burns, the goalkeeping coach, he jumps on me. Alan Dunn jumps on me back. Paul Robinson jumps on me back. There must have been about 6 people trying to actually pull me off him. I get about that close to Kenny's neck. And next thing, I kind of realise what I'm in the middle of actually doing, trying to throttle him. And Burns is like, sit back down. So I sit back down and Kenny's like, what is just after happening there? I'm sat there going, oh, this isn't good, I'm probably on the transfer list tomorrow, this is shades of Barry Town again. This time I'm actually going for the manager. I just totally lost my mind, absolute head loss. So I go into the shower afterwards. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the shower. And the showers, each drop of water is like a nail. I'm getting nailed by the shower even. And I come out afterwards and all I'm thinking, I have to go home tonight. Will I tell the wife or not? She'll be like, what are you doing? What are you absolutely playing at? Everything's going so well from you. So I come out afterwards and I'm like, right, what do I do? And I get home. Wife's like, how'd you get on? And I was like, 2-2, should have won.
Long distance.
Long distance.
There's a couple waiting from 35 yards, look. Yeah. Fuck off.
Not you as well.
I've had it from them 2 dickheads that were.
Exactly. And I'm there thinking, I don't know what to do. So I'm coming up with a plan. I'm thinking, right, first thing in the morning, get into the training grounds. Manager's going to be in early. I got to apologise and stuff like that. I've totally undermined him. So I rock into the training ground the next morning, park up, and it's like a porta cabin at Calmont Road, and you go up the steps, manager's office there, and it's got basically like a door. It's like plywood. You'd nearly put your hand through it, So I'm there knocking. I start knocking, and I said, Gaffer, it's Forde. And it goes dead quiet. And I was like, I swore I could have heard someone in there. I was like, Gaffer, it's Forde. I said, I just want to apologise for last night. And then he comes over, he opens up the door, and he opens up his door, and his foot is behind the door. And he starts looking out through the gap of the door at me like this. And I'm in there looking at him and saying, geez, Gaffer, look, sorry about last night. Can I have a talk to you about last night? He goes, yeah, come on in. So he brings me into the office. So I come into the office, and then you see the tactics board up on the wall. And it has Southampton away at St. Mary's at the weekend. And that was my fate. I loved playing at St. Mary's. And I was like, geez, I'm buzzing to play this game. So I look up on the board and I was like, that's not my name. So I'm thinking, right, this is interesting. So he turns around and I said, look, Gaffer, I totally apologise, totally undermined you. That wasn't right. Look, I'll apologise to the players and everything else. I said, I don't know what came over me. Just had a head loss and mine just went. And he was like, yeah, right, Forde, totally understand, no problem. But he says, I can't have that in my team. That's not right. I think he did find me. And he said, by the way, he says, you're not playing Saturday or next Monday against Morecambe in the Cup. And I swear to God, the red mist came down.
Oh no.
And all I thought about was actually jumping over the table this time. And there was no one to stop me. Thankfully, I grabbed myself and I went, right, that's a tough pill to swallow, but I'll take me medicine. And I walked off with my tail between my legs out the door and stuff.
See him sliding down his chair under the desk.
Yeah.
I'm
even thinking he's waiting until you've gone outside and he's opening the door again with his foot behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, you're not playing Saturday.
yeah. Thanks for the apology. Boom. Yeah.
By the way, if you were getting shit from the fans about your West Ham connection,
But nobody knows that. Nobody knows why, because then nobody knew why I was dropped. I didn't really talk about it. I just took it. People are like, his 153 game run has just come to an end.
Long distance.
Yeah, long distance. Yeah,
Scoring from there.
Yeah.
I was going to say Steve Lomas must have needed snookers when he came in with the West Ham thing.
Yes.
And I remember it being pretty toxic early doors.
Yeah. It was always going to be because he was doing a great job with St. Johnstone. And Steve rang me, and I was speaking to Steve, and he was talking about bringing players in and stuff. And I was like, oh, you don't actually get Millwall. Like, it's not that, they're not Millwall type of players. And explain it to him at the time, and I said, look, there's a specific type of player you need to be successful at Millwall. They need to have these types of characteristics and attributes and different things and stuff like that. Like, and he was like, all right, okay, yeah, fair enough. Then when he came in, he was always going to be under pressure. He's like, he's a West Ham legend, like captain, the whole 9 yards, and fair ball to him, I think.
Well, for taking the job.
Yeah, for taking it.
Yeah.
I don't think many people would have done that.
Was it your first year in the Championship you got that call for your international call-up? Or was it the second?
It was the first year back in the Championship. So that was 2010, 2011. I had kept 21 clean sheets. Looking back at it now, I actually didn't realise how actual good that is. I just thought, I used to love clean sheets. I lived for clean sheets. And looking back at it now, I think, right, nowadays you kept 21 clean sheets in the Championship. You're getting to move to the Premier League all day long. Yeah. So I didn't get my move to the Premier League, but I got my call up for Ireland that March then.
Do you remember the call?
I actually do remember the call, yeah.
Was it a call or a letter?
It was a call.
Call.
A call. Alan Kelly, goalkeeping coach, and another proud Northwest man. And he was at the game against Burnley, played at Turf Moor. We beat them 3-0. And I remember kind of seeing a gentleman over in the corner. He loves shooting and hunting and all that kind of stuff. Like, there's this guy with a flat cap on and a wax jacket on. And I was thinking, is that Alan Kelly? Like, I said, what's he doing here? And still, I was 31 at this stage, and I'd kind of let it go. I was like, right, Ireland is done. And I was fighting so long for Ireland. I was like, right, I'm so desperate to play for Ireland. And then it'd come up to each international break, and the Sky Sports yellow bar, and I'd be in there eating me lunch, like waiting for David Forde to come across. Didn't come across, and I was doing this for years, and I was like, right, I'm done. Then I started to play really well. I was keeping loads of clean sheets. Just probably, that was in the March, probably the end of the October, September, the year before. And Joe Murphy and a few other goalkeepers were getting in, and I was like, I'm playing out with my skin here, I'm not getting in. So I've gone into the training ground one day, and the yellow bar comes up and it starts nailing out the Irish team, and I'm sitting down in dinner with the lads, 10 of us around our own circle. I catch hold of the table, up against the wall, dinners, everything fly everywhere. All the lads are like, what's going on here? And I'm like, I'm done with Ireland. And I walked outside and I was like, right, I'm giving up on Ireland. I'm too old.
Retiring.
Yeah, and I haven't even got a cap.
David Ford's announced his international retirement.
The fuck has not even played?
I've retired twice from Ireland.
That's funny. All the previous managers have fucking retired into it.
That's so funny. I've retired twice. That's hilarious. And I'd given up then, and I was like, right, I'm done. And when I made that decision, I'm done, this ease started to kind of come into my body. I was kind of like, right, I'm not under as much stress or pressure so desperate to play for Ireland. Because my goalkeeping coach, Burns, he used to say, he said, David, you're just too uptight, you're too desperate because it's come late to you. You're so want to win, you so want to get ahead. So I was always that kind of held. And he said, each time you go to make a save, you're just not making those big saves because you're so desperate to do well. And when I let go of that, next thing I was just making those worldies where you're just getting a finger and a millimeter on it, or just a little flick on it, and you're making big saves, and the form started to come and the ease started to come. It's like, right, I can just focus on my career. Ireland, if it happens, I wasn't even thinking of that. So 3-0, beat Burnley. I'm on the bus. We're heading back down. There's a game of poker going on, and my phone rings, unknown number. and paranoid Pete and pick up my phone. And I start looking through the gaps of the chairs. I think one of the lads are pranking me. I'm going, they're trying to do me here with a little reporter or something like that. Like, you know, so I'm there paranoid, looking through the seats, looking around to see, is there anyone on their phones? Giving me a little prank call. So next thing, David, it's Alan Kelly here. And I'm definitely perking up. I'm like, who's acting the bollocks here? Someone's messing about. Like, and I didn't really believe it at the time because back then there was a lot of prank calls going around. So actually said, look, I just wanted to let you know that on behalf of Giovanni Trapattoni and Marco Tardelli, you've been called into the Irish team. I swear to God, the tears.
Can I get back to you, Kels? I've got aces here. It's a big hand here, Kels. I'll get back to you.
I'm all in.
But the emotion come out of you.
Oh, right from my toenails. I just started crying. And all the lads are playing the cards and they just like stop and they're all looking around me going, 40 or number 1, 6'4" monster in the corner is bawling out, crying like a baby in the corner. And they were like, you could see in their face, they're like, Jesus, someone must have died. And there were absolute tears of joy. And I was like, I just got off the phone and I was like, Jesus, thanks a million, Alan. I can't wait. And I was like, who do I tell? What do I do? And I was in so much shock at the same time because I'd let it go. And the lad said, what happened? I said, just have to get called up for Ireland. All the boys were like, hey! All the boys were buzzing, like, you know, absolutely delighted for us.
Did you start that next game for Ireland, or were you in a few squads before you actually made your...
That was the March. We had Macedonia away in a Euro 2012 qualifier. Robbie Keane scored late on. We beat them 1-0. I think we scored in 80-something minute. We beat them 1-0, massive win. And then we had a friendly against Uruguay. That was the time you had the trio of Suarez, Forlan and Cavani. And they were unbelievable. That was one of the best teams I've ever seen play. Was Uruguay. They were off the charts at the time. That was my first camp. Then it was the June we had the off-season summer camp. We had a friendly coming up against Italy. So Trapattoni at the time turned around to Shay Given, Robbie Keane, Duffer, Dunny, John O'Shea, all the senior players, and was like, look, you've had a tough long season. Sail off into the sunset, enjoy your time off. And I'm down eating my breakfast the following morning, and Alan Kelly comes up to me and he goes, you looking forward to tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, looking forward to go see what Italy are like. And he says, you're starting. I was like, what? Starting against Italy tomorrow in Liège. She says, yeah. Next thing we flew over to Liège, played them in Belgium, and made my debut for Ireland in the rain against Italy. And we beat them 2-0.
See, I've got a different mindset, me. Because I'm thinking, they only play 38 games in the Premier League. I've just played 46. I've had a long, hard season and all.
Yeah.
I want to get off on my summer breaks and all. Fuck you, Trapattoni.
The passion in which Forde has just
With all due respect, Trap.
the passion he's just spoke about wanting to play for the country, and you're on about a week in Magalon.
I'm tired and all, Trappers.
I'm ranked.
But pulling that shirt on for the first time, like I said, the passion you've spoke about it must have been emotional.
It was absolutely off the charts. It was just holding that jersey up, just seeing your name on the back of it, your family name, and you're playing for your country. That was some feeling.
Did you play well? I know you kept a clean sheet, but did you?
I did actually. I was solid, and I remember coming in after the game, and Trapp walks in after, and he had he had good English when he wanted to. He was so clever. Bad result, no comprende, don't understand. And he had about 10 languages. Like Wayne, his English was unbelievable. And he came in after, he was like, bene, tutto, bene, bravo, David, bravo. And I'm like looking at the godfather of management going, this is blowing my mind. This is off the chart.
See, I don't know Italian, but I know bravo must mean good, eh?
Yeah, you'll have to get this subtitled on the bottom. Bravo. Very good. Yeah.
You remember when Keogh told us a story about the trap?
Yes. Was it when the guitar came out?
Yeah. Were you in that camp when he's all stayed up? He let you stay up for a few drinks, and was it Andy Reid got the guitar out or something?
Andy, he said you can have a couple or whatever. No, I wasn't in the squad at that stage, but I heard about it. And I don't think he was too best pleased.
No.
I was in at the camp the night before we played. The night before we went to Italy, it was Sean St. Ledger and Shane Long were in the lift with big glasses. I think come in after the night out, and Tardelli walks in and the lift's open and there's the two boys up against the lift like with these big, the disco glasses, the big plastic things like that on. And he's like, right, he's like,
I just
oh
thought
my
they had the
God.
Ray-Bans on.
Yeah. And he's like going, oh my God, these are starting against Italy tomorrow, like, And the two boys played and we actually played really well. And Pirlo played that day. Kyoe was actually in the middle of the park. Absolutely kick lumps out of Pirlo. He wasn't best pleased. Buffon was on the bench. Every time he stuck his head out, he was like an Adonis. He was like the god. Fans would be like, going mental. Yeah.
Would that piss you off, lads? Not, this is a massive moment for you and pride of playing for your country. If some lads weren't taking it as serious as maybe they should be.
Yeah, it was a funny one. Like me in Ireland was me in Millwall and me in my club versus me in Ireland. I felt like two different people because I was established and I knew who I was at Millwall. I didn't have that stature with Ireland, so I felt at Ireland, even though I was 31 or 33 years of age, I felt actually like a young pro.
Yeah.
I felt like I was the young pro, and these were the senior pros. And I'm sure it's fucking twice the old as most of them. No. Yeah. So that was really strange with inside myself, where I was kind of trying to fit in and trying to get involved with Ireland. So I felt like
big glasses
someone
on.
Totally did. Yeah.
Fuck it, I'll go out and all.
Exactly. So, but I do get it. If that was at Millwall, I wouldn't have tolerated that at all.
And what happened with when you're saying you're the oldest player to make the debut in a competitive fixture? How did that come about?
So it was after 2012, I went to the Euros as third choice, which was crazy. That was an amazing experience. Then Shea retired. Next in line was Kieran Westwood, and I was third choice when I'd come in with Ireland at that stage. So it was Shea was number one, Kieran Westwood was number two, and I was number three, with the view of Kieran taking over as number one from Shea. That was the kind of original plan. So lo and behold, we start off the next campaign. Shea had retired. We'd got absolutely demoralised and hammered by Germany. I think it was 6-1 or 6-0 or something like that, and Trapp was under pressure. But that was rolling on a little bit anyhow. And then it came to the next campaign, and over the newspapers and reporters and family and friends were sending me all messages. Oh, congratulations, you're Ireland's new number one. And he'd done an interview and he was like, number one for the campaign is going to be David Forde. And I was like, Trapattoni's just after making me Ireland's number one goalkeeper. So we played a few friendlies, played a few qualifiers. Then we'd gone over to play Sweden in a World Cup qualifier, and that would have been my first start in a World Cup qualifier, which was 33 years of age. We draw 0-0. Zlatan Ibrahimovic was up top, kept a clean sheet, and had an absolute blinder, played absolute worldly, so.
I bet Westwood was half human, was he?
I'd say he probably was. But you know what? We actually had an amazing relationship. We used to go over to the squads, and they used to call in full goalkeeper, so Darren Randolph. So myself, Westy, and Darren Randolph, we'd meet up every Sunday. We'd actually great camaraderie between us. So
that's got to be one of the worst roles in football, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fourth choice keeper on an international trip. Like lads are jetting off here and there and everywhere, having 3 and 4 days in Dubai, and you've got to just go and train. Am I in the minority here? If I'm Randolph, I'm furious. Don't phone
He ended up being number one, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Don't phone me again, Kels. I don't want to come.
Yeah. Well, I think it's different for keepers because there's not many opportunities. There's not many positions, So you're like, yeah, I'm there. Plus, he was young as well. And
you must have been half gutted when Trapattoni left then, were you?
I was actually. I was absolutely gutted. Everything was so, passionate. The Italians, the way they spoke with their hands and their body language, and they just loved football. So when they left, that was yeah, I was gutted to see them leave, to be honest.
Andy played you, so that
Exactly.
helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then you're coming in, you're like, new manager comes in. Does he even rate me? Who's it going to be? And you're just thinking, right, we're back to having to prove myself all over again.
And it was O'Neill.
Martin O'Neill come in then, and Roy come in as his number 2.
How was that?
It started off okay. Like that, they were trying to figure out who their keeper was. Then there was a bit of uncertainty in the press. There was talks of Shea coming back. Then lo and behold, we play our first World Cup qualifier, or European qualifier, against Georgia, away in Georgia. And the night before, the manager just pulled me into the physio's room, and he said, "Look, you're starting, and you're the number 1 for the time being." But then throughout that whole period, I always felt, then they called Shea back. Shea was at Aston Villa. They called Shea back in. He comes out of retirement. And I never felt secure in my position of what I was doing. Even though my performance was good, every time I played for Ireland, they were of high standards. And I just felt that pressure was always kind of there to perform. And it made me feel uneasy. I didn't feel comfortable in that. I didn't actually like that feeling of insecurity and having that fear. So roll on to, we play Scotland, have an altercation with Roy and the manager. Roll on after the game. Then the following spring, I lose my position with Ireland, and that was the kind of start of the end times with Ireland.
Was the altercation about conceding goals?
It was actually about the whole build up to the game was primarily about Roy and Martin, because it was the return to paradise. Obviously, Martin being an absolute Celtic legend and winning everything that could be won with Celtic back in his glory days. And then Roy being a former player after he left United, he went back there, and the whole Irish connection and everything else. So we're playing at Celtic Park. Hampden was being redeveloped. We get into the game, we start the game, and I go out to warm up, and Seamus McDonough is over in the far corner flag with Shea Given. They're warming up the far corner. So Kieran Westwood starts warming me up by this corner flag. And Westy goes to me, he said, "You're starting, you're number 1, you should be getting warmed up by the goalkeeping coach." So I said, "Look, no problem, just West warm me up here." So he warmed me up before the game. So play the game, start the game. I get the ball. We're under a lot of pressure, first 5-10 minutes. Ball goes out for a goal kick. Ball boy chucks it to me. I put it down. And I look up and I see Seamus Coleman right back. Richard Keogh was centre half. And I thought, right, by the time I put my hand on the ball, I said, right, I'll play one out to Seamus. Hold a bit of possession. Pass the ball out. Absolutely zinged it out there. And Richard Keogh looks at me like a deer in headlights. He's like, eyes wide open. Lets it go through his leg because he knows the pace of the ball. It's not for him. Next thing, Seamus is on the ground holding his hamstring or holding his calf. He's gone down injured. So by the time I looked at him, by the time I put my head back down, Seamus drops down to the ground to kill some time.
Fucking Seamus.
Fucking hell, Seamus. So Seamus is on the floor. I pass the ball out. Stephen Naismith picks it up. I think he was at Everton that time, or Norwich. Runs down to the byline. I start blessing myself. I'm like, please don't concede here. Like, whatever we do not concede here. He gets to the byline, whips it across the box, 6 yards out. Evades everyone, goes out to the far corner flag, and I'm like, thank God, there's a man above. Stephen Ward picks the ball up, moves the ball up to halfway line, up to McGeady. McGeady goes on one of his mazies up to their corner flag. We get a corner, and I'm like this going, praise the Lord, right? So next thing, I look over to my left, and I see Roy, like absolutely foaming at the mouth, ranting and raving. He's in his World Cup boots, and he's going mental. He's like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? And I just snapped. I just seen red then, because I knew, I just didn't feel comfortable. And I was thinking, right, I'm under a threat here. There's something not right here. Yeah. So I turned around and I snapped. And I went, you little Cork cunt, like that. I'm going to fucking rip your fucking head off when I get into that changing room. I'm going to absolutely murder you. Back then I'm 6'4", and I was like 8% body fat. I mean to say I was in an absolute machine. I would have absolutely murdered him.
Just to clarify, I would have killed him.
I would have murdered him.
Let's build him no illusions and let's snapped him in two.
Exactly. Roy Keane or no Roy Keane. And he would have been one of my absolute heroes as a kid. Like I was like, and I have a lot of respect for Roy. So much respect for him. What a player. And so I've just lost my mind completely in the game. And now I find myself going to toe with one of the world's and one of Ireland's greatest players. And at the time, that sense of logic did not even come into my mind. Like, you know, my mind was gone. So then Martin turns around to him and he finds out what's happening, and Martin starts going for me. And I turned around and I said, "You little skinny fucking rat, I'm going to kill the pair of you."
Forde, you're a fucking lunatic, aren't you?
In the middle of an international European qualifier. And we get into half-time, 0-0, no problem. Go get me water bottle, go get me towel. We're coming in at half-time. I'm in there sat in at half-time.
At any point after this altercation, up to half-time, are you ever thinking, a bit like with Kenny Jackett, "Oh, what the fuck have I done here?" Or had you not calmed down enough by then?
No, I just totally went into my fucking ego. I went to thinking that, who does he think he is, da-da-da-da-da, where I come from. I just went into that part into myself. I wasn't willing to relent or back down. Like, I was like, I didn't even see the fact that this was the manager, the coach, that this could cost me my place. That type of reason did not even enter my mind.
And is cork cunt, is that a proper bad slight? I don't know what cork's like, but is cork cunt
You know, a cunt's not a good.
Oh, I know, yeah. But I didn't know.
Elementary.
The cork bit, is that like double cunt?
It's just like me saying Barnsley cunt. Where it's from.
You cork cunt. No.
Yeah, exactly, you know. So, look, someone nailing you like that, it's not nice at the best of times, is it? Like, you know.
So with that you done?
Well, there's a bit that goes on after that, but I'll leave you to read about the rest.
I think
you get the idea.
Yeah, I think I'll probably be.
Did it not work at all, Roy being assistant?
I did, yeah, it did. We ended up getting to the Euros. We got to 2016. Well, the lads got to 2016. I played 5 or 6 games, and I got left out on the. Like that, they had to bring 3 keepers, and I was number 4.
Do you think that altercation played a part in that?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely felt it played a part in terms of, unless the lads tell me different, but that was my perception. That was my whole view of it. I started to see, right, that was in the November. Then in the March, you know, the manager pulled me before the game and he says, on a hunch, I'm going to play Shea tonight.
At any point you're like, "Shea, what? You're fucking retired, mate. Why you come back for?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, to be fair, Forde, you've retired twice by 24. Can't really throw that one at me, can you?" Well, fair enough.
Exactly. Yeah, we're even. Now I can retire twice.
Back on and play, no bother.
Yeah.
But by the way, your feet are not as fast as what they used to be.
It's a fact, isn't it?
Were you in and around it when Keane had that, I'd say, altercation with Walters, and they all had a big fallout, didn't they? Was it about not training? Because he hates him, doesn't he?
I don't know what happened there between the two lads. You know, I think that goes back to even when they were at Ipswich and stuff. There's a bit of bad blood there or whatever else. Like, but I remember one day I had a knock. I'm sitting in on the training ground in the dugout, and I've got hat jackets on, boiler jackets, and I'm just watching training. And Roy's doing laps of the pitch. And there was the time he had the full blown beard going, like, you know, he looked like a wild man, like, you know, he looked like one of the Vikings. So he's walking around the pitch and he's doing laps and he's watching training. And I used to have great crack with, like we used to have great conversations. And I said to him, did you do anything interesting at the weekend? And he says, I was down in Cork, back in Cork for the weekend, and I went out with my mates. And he said, geez, he said, I should have known better, like, you know, but he said, we had a good night and stuff. Then he turned around to me and he says, Forde, he says, I don't get this, he says. Go into me mates, they have 10 pints or 20 pints, whatever they have. They go into the chipper afterwards, they order pizza, chips, chicken. Next thing me mate, he goes, he asked for a Diet Coke. what's that about? He was going on about this Diet Coke for ages. Do you know when you just get so hung up on something? And I was like, oh, it's all making sense now. You know? So he's there going on about this Diet Coke for ages. And I'm like, all right, this is interesting. So I could only imagine what he was like in the training ground or on the pitch, where he was like, something that got into his mind he didn't like, he'd hold it, like, you know.
So is he on about they're having loads of calories but having a Diet Coke?
Yeah.
Exactly. Why, like, do you know, you're that fucking far in, like, do you know what I mean?
He went 15 pounds, kebab, pizza, chips, chicken.
Yeah.
He ordered a fucking Diet Coke.
Yeah. Exactly.
But, by the way, we've all
You've
done
had
it.
4 million calories. We've all done it. Yeah. You go up to McDonald's now with your kids, like, yeah, can I have an extra large?
Coke Zero. You like a Coke Zero?
Yeah. You're like, I'll have a
Chinese.
Coke Zero. Yeah.
What are you nodding at me for?
Because you do.
I know I do. Every little counts.
We all do it, like,
You can have an extra spring roll, can't you?
Yeah.
So, what a bit of a blow having to leave Millwall.
Oh yeah, I was absolutely gutted. I had 9 years, and most players get a testimonial. You know, even if you've done 9 years, I've seen players where the club go, all right, we'll give you a year in some capacity. And do you know what? It wasn't even about that. It wasn't even about the testimonial. It was the sheer fact of giving it absolutely blood, sweat, and tears for. I gave that club absolutely my everything. You know, I gave it the whole 9 yards. You know, even to the stage where my wife used to come home and be like, I hope they win at the weekend. Because I'd come in at the weekend, we win, we'd have a great weekend. We lose, weekend to be an absolute disaster, like, you know. And I struggled really with that, with winning and losing off the pitch. You know, I used to take it so hard, you know. So she was probably delighted that I left, but I was gutted, yeah. I was gutted to leave Millwall.
What was the scenario with you, the situation with you leaving? Did you get to say goodbye to the fans, or was it afterwards? Did you know that you were leaving at the end of that season?
Yeah, not necessarily. I never really got a chance to do that at Millwall, which pretty much hurt. What it was, I'd gone on loan to Portsmouth that year, and we'd won the League Two title. We won on the last game of the season, which was crazy. We were only top of that league for the last minute of the whole season. It's like fairy tale stuff. And we get carted off at Fratton Park. We win the League Two title. I was promised a contract at Portsmouth. I was told, right, we get promoted. There's a contract there for you. I thought, right, great. Paul Cook decided to leave and go to Wigan. The club had rang me at the chief executive at the time, Mark Catlin, rang, and he said, right, we're getting a new manager in. Sort out your contract, whatever. And I was like, yeah, great. He goes, who do you think we should sign? And I said, Kenny Jackett. He said, he's an option. I knew at the time, I felt that was the right choice, but I knew it was going to cost me. And I said, yeah, Kenny. So next thing, I'm away on my holidays. Kenny rings me and he says, by the way, we're not offering you that contract. And I went, right, cheers, Kenny. Fair enough. That was the end of that.
Did you not say, you do know I got you that job?
Yeah.
Trapattoni, get Trapattoni in.
Yeah, get Trap back, like, yeah, exactly. So Kenny comes in, Porcasia. Kenny comes in, and then I get a phone call in the middle of a little car park with my wife from Neil Harris and John Burleson at the time, and then they give me the notice that Millwall won't be renewing my contract neither. That's it, done. All in the middle of a little car park. So.
And were you, obviously, you must have played with Neil Harris, yeah?
Yeah.
Were you not like, come on, Neil, one more?
I didn't really want to go there. Because I knew what had happened. I'm joking. I'm past history. That's probably why.
Can we meet up,
They
Neil?
were probably up in the boardroom going, hope he's in little car park. We'll stay here in the boardroom, nice and safe, nothing can happen. But look, that those days had kind of long passed since then, like, you know.
Just going back to Paul Cook, does his voices change in his team meetings or just in his interviews?
I've never noticed that.
Just Google some of his interviews. It goes from. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
He's proper scouser.
I know. Yeah, I fucking don't like him. That's another
Like your
story.
honesty.
It's more the pitch of his voice, not like the accent. It's,
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes
Because he goes really hoarse. He goes really hoarse.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's him because he just shouts. He's always talking and shouting. And he'd be on the side of the pitch and he'd be like Gargamile. Do you know, we used to call him Gargamile, do you know, from the Smurfs.
You know what I mean? With the interview.
That was his nickname.
What happened with Burgess and Doyle at Portsmouth? Altercation again?
Yeah, we're coming. We are like red hot favourites to win League Two, and we're not even in the playoffs. And this is coming up into probably February. And that was a really interesting year because Fratton Park were getting 18,000, 19,000 at games, and it was like everybody's cup final. So we're playing, I don't know, was it Morecambe or I can't remember who it was. And I don't know, we lose in a half time or getting beat 2 or 3-0. We're having an absolute disaster. I mean to say, having a stinker like. And I think Burge made a couple of blunders, a couple of errors, and I started getting onto him during the game. I was like, right, get our finger up. We've come in at half time, and I've just opened up. I've been like, right, lads, need to do more, etc., etc. And I think Burge had said something back to me disrespectfully. But in all fair, it was all love and war because I wasn't being too respectful myself, as you do in the changing room. And Doyler turned around and he said, have some more respect, Burge, you know what I mean, senior player, etc., etc. It's a disgrace or whatever else. Next thing, the two of them started getting into a fight. The two lads were getting into a wrestle. And next thing, the two of them end up on the floor. Doyler was trying to get back up. And as he was trying to get back up, it was like he was trying, you know, like, what you call those moves where you jump off your back of your shoulders up onto your feet.
I know what they're called, but
absolute breakdance move. And he tries to pull off this absolute move of getting back up onto his feet. And Burge was kind of standing up, and next thing he jumps up and studs him into his head. He gets 10 or 12 stitches across his forehead. He gets pulled off at half time. We were meant to be going on. I think we had a night out arranged or something like that at the time. And manager came in afterwards and he said, that's one of the worst performances he's ever seen. You're an absolute disgrace. No night out tonight. I don't want to hear anybody going out tonight. So we were like, right, best thing to do is not have the night out. Sure, but what did we do? We had the night out. And for the full week, he made us run every day. He ran us to the...
Did he find out then?
He found out, yeah. He found out and ran us to the ground. Like, so that's what happened between Doyler and Burge.
Good move, the old backflip one then, isn't it? If you can...
I don't reckon I could pull it off.
No.
If you can cause 12 stitches, it's a good move.
Yeah.
Try it here on the table. Table's reinforced.
How old was you when you left Millwall?
38.
Right.
Yeah, 38, yeah.
Do you still feel you got some in the tank?
Yeah. I felt I did, yeah. Because we'd kept 20 clean sheets with Portsmouth in League Two. And because of the disappointment of missing out on the Euros, and I'd kind of lost my form at Millwall and lost my confidence a little bit, I felt, right, I'm starting to get back to myself here. There's still a bit in the tank. So I definitely felt there was definitely more there to give.
When did you make that first trip to India? At what point in your career?
Yeah, it was coming up to around 2011 at that time. And I started picking up a lot of knocks, a lot of injuries. Expectations started to come. Wages were increased. Being a number one for the club, young family, big mortgages, debt, dealing with all that stuff. So I was under a lot of stress. I was under a lot of pressure. Time goes on and I think to myself, right, I need to do something about this. I started to get into it, started to practice it, started to get what we'd call is a chant, a certain specific sound. And every day I'd started to practice that 5-10 minutes in the morning, 5-10 minutes in the evening. And I thought, right, this is really starting to settle my mind.
Would you ever do it on the pitch?
I'll just...
When I score a goal.
Forde the through! Chant.
Yeah.
If I chant, the ball would go out for a goal kick. Fucking on
Yeah. In the middle of the goal, like, Gaffer, give us a minute, will you? Ref,
Somebody go down injured for this fucking chanting.
Yeah.
That doesn't count. I was meditating.
Lomas pose on the middle of the pitch.
But do you know what I mean? Like, be able to just take
It's not an
maybe
injury.
by internalising it,
Yeah.
being able to focus.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't mean sitting down. I know we're chucking some big laughs out for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No,
But do you know what I mean?
Fucking at it again. 3-0 down.
you can't say a word in these interviews, can you?
I think that's me done.
You just,
I don't think I'm coming back from that.
you just get nailed. But yeah, you would. You do it internally. Yeah, just to keep your focus, keep your concentration.
Did you know what you wanted to do when you finished?
Yes, I did. At that time, people were always saying, "Oh, you'd be a great manager. You'd be a great coach, great goalkeeping coach." And to be honest, it felt like I was in football for an absolute eternity, and I wanted to kind of get my freedom. I wanted to travel. You know, Christmas time. I wanted to have some time off in the summer. I love traveling. I've done so much traveling around the world over the last number of years. And I was like, right, even though I love football, I love, actually what I love about football is the competition, is getting onto that pitch and actually competing. I love competing. And when I started to look at, right, what do I want to do? What do I want to do next? I was like, right, I'd love to still be involved in football. And football's a bit like the mafia. You try to get out of it. It's like Goodfellas. It keeps on sucking you back in. Just when you think you're getting away, it sucks you back in some sort of capacity. And then I started to look at, then I went back to study. I went back into the Masters in Coaching Psychology and Personal Development. Trained with the European Mentoring and Coaching Council, set up my company, Pathfinder Coaching and Development. Do a lot of corporate coaching now, executive mentoring, working with players, managers, coaches. So it allows me my freedom in that. Teach meditation. You can join Parky.
Yeah, we can have half hour when we're done.
So yeah, it's just taken me down a whole different path now, and transformational travel experiences take people to India, take people to America, South America, different events, different things. So yeah, life has taken on a whole different view now, and now I can go back and watch football just as a fan again. Just enjoy it, yeah.
When's the book out?
The book out, it was meant to be out on Paddy's Day, and thankfully I've got the foreword through from Michael D. Higgins, the President of Ireland, so I'm really feel very privileged with that. And hopefully in the next couple of weeks, it's just gone to print now, so once it all starts, I'm just getting the dates together, and once I'll have more, I'll send you on the details. It'd be great.
Sound, yeah. We'll get it in the thingy, the description and that.
Yeah, we'll put
I'll
a
send
link
you a few
in.
copies.
Any stories on Sean St. Ledger, by the way?
Apart from the big glasses.
Ledge, so what a guy. I used to love Ledge. So when Millwall were looking for players, and I said, "Yo, you got to sign Ledge." Ledge came, signed for us. So we were fifth at Christmas in the championship. It's the close. I was like, we're getting promoted here. We'd Chris Woods up top, and Woodsy was on absolute fire. And the club were like, "Oh, should we sign him? It's going to cost us £1 million. We'll offer 750." And I was like, "Please sign him." It's like £1 million. So they were piss potting around, and Leicester came in and went, was it Leicester? I think it was Leicester, and they went 2 or 3 million. We'll have him. And sure, look at him now, like, you know. So he left us and signed for Leicester in that January. And we went from being fifth to almost getting relegated on the last day of the season. So we're away to Derby. We have to win. Peterborough playing Crystal Palace. Ian Holloway is manager of Crystal Palace. That was the year Palace get to the playoff final and get promoted. Peterborough 2-0 up with a few minutes to go at Selhurst Park. And obviously the rivalry between Palace and Southeast London Derby. And we are 1 or 2-0 down, 1-0 down to Derby. So we're basically getting relegated. Next thing, Palace come back, end up beating Peterborough 3-2. They get into the playoffs and we stay up. It was insane. So after the game, Sean St. Ledger and me are walking off the pitch going, what's just after? Do you know when all the news starts to filter through, you don't know whether you're up or down, you're in or you're out, and you're going, you know, what's actually happening here? Are my wages halved? Is my career basically over? We walked down to clap the Millwall fans down the corner in Pride Park, so we're going down and shit in Ledger, and he had a pair of pink T90s, and he takes them off, throws them into the fans. Oh, thanks for the season, stuff like that. Starts walking back. One of the boots comes back in his and he was like, "What's going on here, Forde?" And I said to him, "Welcome to Millwall, lad."
Take your boots and shove up your ass, Ledger. Ledger.
Launched the fuck out. It was hilarious.
Hell of a shot, by the way.
Oh, hell of a shot. Hell of a shot. Yeah. I just started jogging on. That's why I only give them gloves.
What a guy. What a guy.
Top man, Forde. Good luck with everything.
Appreciate that.
Thanks a million, guys.
Thanks for
I
coming on.
enjoyed
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Thank you.
That was crack.